Oh, I hit record and I'm not even really sure what I want to say. But hello. So, this is Lambda Incursion Redux. Lambda Incursion is a source mod that was released back in 2011. So, for those of you that know, that was before the Steam Pipe update on Steam. And the Steam Pipe update broke a lot of source mods back in the day. Um, well, when I say all, or when I say a lot, I mean all of them. So there's a lot of source mods like Lambda Incursion that were made before the Steam Pipe update and were just unplayable for years. Now, what ended up taking place here with me is I got on YouTube one day and I happened to see a video of someone playing this. Strangely, it had like 20 views. It was an older video. And I was very confused why YouTube was even showing it to me in the first place, because it was old, low views, and etc. But obviously there was something to it, because here I am playing a game called Lambda Incursion Redux. So what's that? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let me go ahead and take out this zombie real quick, and then I can continue concentrating. So again, Lambda Incursion came out in 2011. I find this video on YouTube, and I'm watching the gameplay, and I'm like, this looks like a fun little source mod. I'd like to play this. So I look up on ModDB, and I find the version from 2011. But then I also see a version from 2022. And the version from 2022 was made with the intent of allowing people to play the mod after the Steam Pipe update. Now, Steam Pipe, I believe, was 2013. So it was actually quite a while after the Steam Pipe update before someone even attempted to make this playable again as a source mod. I won't get into it, but through no fault of their own, the person who tried to get this working in 2022, it wasn't their fault, but the game just didn't work. There is a certain segment in this mod where a zombie kicks down a door, and the bin files, the client and server file, were not for episode 2. They were for Half-Life 2. So, basically, is say if your eyes are rolling into the back of your head, if you don't have the episode 2 bins, you cannot have things like hunters or zombie show up. So, this mod was essentially dead immediately, because of that. I thought that was a real shame. Because the last time I looked, this mod had about 500 downloads. Just from the 2022 version. And so that's, half a thousand people that downloaded a game and probably got to that part with the zombie and looked around for a few minutes confused, closed the game, and never started it again. So what ended up happening with me is I decided I want to make this mod work. That was it. After I looked into it and I figured out the episode 2 issue, I was like, okay, so I took the SDK from, GitHub, Valve's 2013 SDK. I compiled on the single player. I threw the episodic bins into the mod, and it worked. Great. Fantastic. And then that's where the trouble started, because I got into the mod, and then I just started noticing issues. Not a ton of issues. I was trying to be nice. There were a ton of issues. You could beat the game, start to finish, but there were a lot of issues. So let me go ahead and get through this section, and then I'll keep yapping. One thing I want to note here is that this area, so this bridge is actually a solid until you touch a trigger, and then it'll fall. But in the original version, you could actually just take like this, for instance, stick it on top, jump on it, and then jump to the other side without issue. Or if you were really, really fast and you sprinted properly, you could actually do a perfect bunny hop in the middle, get to the other side, and then you were good. So in Hammer, we actually raised it to about probably around here. So like I'm using this wall, and the far distance as an indicator. So the original trigger was probably around this tall. The trigger's now about this tall. So even if you try to do the bunny hop I speak of, it just immediately falls. And you're down here with all the zombies. clear out this area. So, a few funny things about this area. When I played the mod... Actually, yeah, let me kill these guys real quick. I'm just ranting, so... This isn't scripted or anything, obviously. So when I was playing the mod, I realized that... You know, obviously... You know, they're indicating with light here. You need to do a little puzzle. You need to get the elevator up. Well, you start walking around, and you end up finding one grenade. And what happens is you come in here, and you look in here, and... Oh, apparently he wandered off. He's usually right here. But you would stand here, and then that one grenade, the original creator's intent was to throw the grenade in, have it blow up the blocks, closing the door, because if you try to go to the door, it doesn't work, of course. But I realized that if you don't have a grenade, or if you used it outside, because I believe it's this crate, it might be that one. One of them specifically gives you one grenade. So you see a group of zombies, you throw it down, you come in here, and you're like, oh crap. Now luckily, you can just shoot each one individually if you wanted to. But I also just figured it would be better for players if they just have a barrel that blows it up for them. So going back to this area, so we fixed the trigger, and then there's actually, which this is something that comes up a lot in this mod, there was an unused trigger up here with 2 fast zombies, which is funny because fast zombies actually do not show up in the rest of the mod anywhere else. So I don't know if the original creator had them there and then forgot about it, or decided that he wasn't going to use any fast zombies, because there's also no poison zombies, there's no hunters, there's no antlions of any sort. But we restored the triggers so that when I go through that door, you'll hear them spur on, and then they're supposed to run around here and then jump down. Sometimes they like to jump over the fence here. But, and then even like right here, this doorway was hilarious because the doorway itself ended about here. So when you opened the door, you would just see part of the door open through solid cement. Which we came to find was a very common issue in this mod. A lot of doors did not line up properly. They didn't fit the door spaces they're in. Like even, for instance here, if you look, this doorway is very different than this doorway. And even before adjusting this doorway, that doorway did not match this one. You could tell that this was the creator's first real attempt at making a source mod. So in Hammer, there's something with grids. It's called like a grid. So you can snap to grids. And that's how they make everything line up. This creator really did not use grids, like, at all. So a lot of the mod, you would walk around, and there'd be things like the doors being the wrong size, which actually this one is still the wrong size, I believe. Oh, no, actually, this one's okay. You'll see other doors. But lots of doors are the wrong size. There's gaps. Parts of the wall are moved over a couple pixels too many. Even up here for the keen-eyed above you, or around you. Keen-eyed above you, around you. The keen-eyed of you. English. Difficult. You'll see, like, those fences don't match. So, like, if I was him, I would have moved this over and then had the fences match and then just had this entire area shifted over a little bit. But anyways, enough yapping. I'll continue playing for a little bit. Yep, so now you can hear the fast zombies coming. Oh, my goodness. And this wire has caused us so much grief. One of the people helping me with the maps actually suggested that maybe we should just switch this entire puzzle with batteries. The thought process there was, okay, just have like a battery compartment here. Have it connect with some wires. Walk into this room, have a battery sitting on the floor in the back. Now, this is one of those things where I tried to adjust this mod as little as possible. So even though I said about the doors, I fixed a lot of the doors, I fixed a lot of triggers. There's a lot of things that are different from the original mod, but mostly the same. So as a for instance, this elevator, when I first played, I did this, and then I just pressed the button. I wasn't thinking, I just pressed the button. And I was like, oh, the elevator goes up. Okay. Well, in the original version, the elevator never comes back down. So you can see why that would be a problem, because then the player is stuck down here. Throughout the entire campaign, I think there were, I want to say 3 soft locks that I found that have been resolved. And this stupid elevator took 2.5 hours of me being in Discord with another guy named Average Metal Enjoyer, which thank you very much, Metal, trying to fix this elevator. And then another guy that goes by Tyro or Zarin, he comes in and he just suggests that we try an entirely different entity, and then that was what was working. Because we did have it working, but it would come up to the top, it would go a little bit too high, go back down, bounce off the ground, and then be about 4 feet in the air. Which was far better than what it was originally, but still not great. And I'm realizing now how much I'm yapping about this mod, and I'm literally in the 3rd room. And I actually missed some of the pickups in the first area. I was going to say, like, so even though I said about making minimal changes in each map, I wanted to add just a little bit of some fun. So in the very first part of the map, which actually I'll just go ahead and save. I'll disconnect, new game. I'll show you real quick. Fun fact, if you hug the wall here, you can avoid the trigger for that zombie. But you can see there's an RPG hidden here. So each map I hid 1 RPG. That one I'll give away. The other 2, everyone else will have to find. But yeah, so there's like this room that has the crates, which I found in my testing with people. Even though you spawn there and you look this way, a lot of people just completely leave this room. Because as soon as they come out of here, the attention's on the zombie. And then the attention's on these, and oh no, are they going to shoot me? And of course they don't. But so I already have a ton to talk about just with these first few rooms. There wasn't too much that was adjusted here, like otherwise, like the door, the barrel, while the wire took, like I said, hours to figure out. At one point I was going to put a cache of grenades here, but then I thought, well, I don't want to overpower you, which is funny because I thought of that before I did anything with the RPG. So there goes that idea. But at least there's only 3. I did have one player report that they got stuck back here, and they thought that I should move the boxes back, but I thought, well, there's this pipe here, you can get out. So, like, are they right? Should it be adjusted so you don't get stuck back there? Absolutely. I agree. But I want to adjust these maps as little as possible. The person I spoke of before, Average Metal Enjoyer, he's gone on the record a few times as saying that this is the worst source mod he's ever played. Which is funny, because him and I go back and forth about that, because I've played far worse source mods. Like, I wouldn't be investing my time, like weeks of my time into this, if I didn't think that it was worth saving. I'll just put it that way. There's been other source mods where I load it up, and I do the bare minimum to get it running. I play through it, and then I exit the game, and I just immediately delete the folder, and I move on, because they're just that bad. This is one of the quirks of this mod that I absolutely love, just because it's so silly. Because the door is actually in the ground. So you can tell how far down the handle is. And a few people have been like, well, that's simple. Just take the frame, take that wall, move it up, move the frame up, align the door, and you're done. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I did do that with that door, just because it was so blatant, because it was the top. But this mod author, bless his heart, did this to a lot of doors where it's too short, and then he has like, well, you'll see some custom doors coming up that they just don't look quite right. And I think there's a certain charm to that. There's a lot of things in this mod that could be easily adjusted, and like you could argue it makes the mod better, and I would probably agree in most cases. But there's just something to the charm of, you know, this was this guy's first source mod, the first one he ever made. He actually made 3 source mods. I'll have links in the description for the original Lambda Incursion, and I probably actually won't publish this video until I have Lambda Incursion Redux ready to download, now that I think about it. But I'll have links for that as well. But, you know, 15 years ago, this kid made a mod. He had a few people playtest it. And, you know, here we are today. But, like, even in this room, I'm already stopping again. Because each one of these jail cells, even though I didn't do a great job, because I'm not super good in Hammer, each one of these was misaligned horribly. This jail cell in particular, which I actually did not fix the wheels, but the top was way too far up. This was way, like, there was probably like a 6-inch gap on both sides. And once again, what I said about the doors, you can tell that he made everything manually. There's actually a part later in this map that I joked with Metal that the map creator made this map brick by brick. And in that case, in that area, it was quite literal. So instead of just making a structure and carving it out and, you know, doing whatever, he literally laid brick by brick by brick by brick and put it together. So I cannot imagine how much time the creator of this mod put in. So we'll continue here. Now this is another area where there was a couple small things. One of the playtesters, Grub, noticed that there was a no draw, which apparently I did not fix. Or I must have fixed it and then unfixed it? No, my goodness gracious. Okay, well, now I know to fix this. This is why we test mods over and over again. Because he noticed this one. I did fix a no draw that was in here, and I fixed a no draw in this room. Now I'm curious if it's actually still fixed. Yes, it is. Okay. That's hilarious. But again, that's why I like to play through my maps many, many times, and especially have multiple eyes on it. Because I didn't notice this to begin with, and then I actually forgot about it until now, because I thought it was fixed, but nope. That's a quick, simple fix in Hammer. But you'll also notice, though, that the prison cells, none of them are the same size. So, again, the guy that created this mod originally did everything manually. And he did not use grids, which would have made things very simple. Very, very simple. But I find it charming. Coming up, you'll see a couple of these doors, like this door especially, is pretty amusing. Yeah, come here. Yeah, I hear you. Ow. You coming? Okay, he's just gonna kill himself. Have fun. So how I said that the original didn't have things set up correctly, that Zombine, and there's actually a Zombine downstairs that I believe is dead, did not show up properly because of that 2022 version of this mod. The 2022 version, as far as I can tell, did not edit the maps. Also, you will see some things like this. I compiled on fast, which means that this is not the way the map's going to look like when it ships. Obviously, especially with, you know, me missing that no drawback there. But, so if you see things like this, that's to be expected. Don't mind me. So this was another room where, like, just little things. This table was stuck on the wall. Sometimes it would come through okay, because, like, this piece was floating in the air, and I think it would knock it out of the wall. The last time I tested, this part was above the charger. So there's, like, little things that I keep finding. So as a side note, we did try this in multiplayer, in a mod called Fortress Connected, which I'll have to drop a link to as well on Steam. Average Metal Enjoyer that I mentioned previously, he is the lead mapper for Fortress Connected. To give you a quick rundown, Fortress Connected is like the 9 mercs from T Fortress 2, plus another merc, John Freeman, also known as the Renegade. And you can play through Half-Life 2, you can play through different mods like this. We were just testing Leon's Episode 3, The Closure, classic mod, the other day. Anyways, I'll stop talking about Fortress Connected. But I thought it was funny in multiplayer. To me, the map creator made it very obvious that you press that button, and then that door opens. I cannot tell you how many people missed this button. And even when the button was pressed, they kept trying to run down that hallway, which I found endlessly hilarious. Fun fact, there's actually a fake room behind this door and what would have been a door here. That's another thing with this map creator is he has a lot of... Oh, actually, speaking of metal, he left his calling sign there. This map creator had a lot of extra areas that you can tell that, you know, he was thinking about adding things like this. He was probably going to have a resupply closet, and then he decided to put the, you know, the boxes out here instead. We've actually found entire areas that were gone from the original game because he just closed it off with bricks. So we have opened up a few of those areas. So that harkens back to, like, I didn't want to change too much about this mod. And there's funny things, like, I love this door. So you can see the lock here, and obviously the texture is that the handle's on this side, and the hinges. And then you open it, and it opens completely wrong, and I love it. But, like, just in this area, that's one door texture. Well, this is actually the same texture as that one. But then here's this funny door, and then another door with a different texture, and then this is supposed to be a door that was, like, knocked down with a different texture. So, again, you can tell that this was very much their first rodeo. They really didn't know what they were doing. They were experimenting a lot with stuff. But that's also why I really enjoy these types of source mods. They're just so unique, and they've got a lot of charm to them. Because even like this area, like I kept calling these like the poop channels, like in medieval Europe, where you'd have sewage flowing down the sides of the streets. I'm like, why is that in a sewer? And why is it set up like this? It's just funny to me. Come here. But he would have carved all this out. And actually, out of everything in this area, that's probably the most intricate detail that they did. Because that's all throughout here. And I don't think this area... No, this area doesn't have it. There's a lot of areas where... Like, the map creator put a lot of work into carving out the ceiling and making it look unique. It's just really interesting to see and to think, like, you know, what were they thinking? And I mean that in a nice way, even though it doesn't sound like a nice way. But anyways, we will continue on. Because actually, the area I spoke about that was walled off is right up here. So I'll show you that real quick. So this is actually where people would get stuck in the 2022 version. Because the zombie never spawned, that entire sequence would never start, and you would just get softlocked. So the one day I was in a call with Metal, and he was flying around in Hammer, and he was just looking at stuff and trying to fix things up. And he realized that this wall had an entire new area behind it. Now, usually there's a vent here, but because of that grenade I shot from the SMG, it's no longer here. But he added this entire area inside here. And actually, yeah, I do have one grenade. So, that Zombine was here in the original mod. So if you walked past here, you could hear him just growling in here, but he had nowhere to go because he was completely walled in. That vent did not exist. Metal added that. And then Metal also added the two head crabs back here, which I might relocate them a little bit just so that they stay stuck. Because I think it would be better, because obviously you saw these two. They were crawling out and already coming at me before I even did anything. It might be better for them to get stuck behind here, so when you bust open the crates, suddenly you get ambushed by two head crabs. So, like, that's the extent of what I wanted to change. There's even funny things like, here, I'll show you a silly thing. So normally these gates, you're supposed to be able to put things through. But in this mod, you can't, because there's a giant trigger in the middle. But if you go down a little bit, you can. And it's just little things like that. Or like the fact that the gate goes far past beyond the boundaries of the actual physical device. And actually, I didn't even realize that they weren't quite aligned like I thought they were. But still, it's funny. So in the original version, this wall, and this wall would have been gone. But I think the creator wanted to have some cover for that Zombine thing. But the funny part is he originally had the trigger right through this doorway. So if you just walked and you went to here, the Zombine was actually already out and fighting. So you didn't even get to see him knocking down the door. Which leads me to believe that this was a later addition, these walls. And that he just didn't think to move the trigger up. Because the trigger now is here, I believe. So when you go past here, then that script starts. So when I said brick by brick, by the way, there, and actually you can kind of see some of the lines because they're in rows, but they're actually like individual little blocks. And then especially up here, this curved area, like that is one brick. That's one brick. That's one brick. That's one brick, etc. I cannot imagine how painstaking it was for the creator to make this for every archway. I hope, for his sake, that he copy and pasted them. But I did find a lot in this mod that he really did not copy and paste much. To his own detriment. So we'll come back in here. I think this is the only room in this level that I didn't have to touch anything. We did not have to move a single thing. This room was, and actually that makes me nervous now that I'm saying that out loud. So now I'm just gonna like look at a couple things a little closer just to make sure. Because I don't believe that there was a single thing in this room that was moved around. So when Meta works on the version for multiplayer, I actually do think that there should be a higher fence here or just a player clip. Because especially with classes like Scout, Demo Man, Soldier, he could just jump over. But then you come down here, you have another buddy over here. Don't believe I touched this hallway either. This area got touched a lot. There was a lot of issues in this area. Yeah, I'll hit the trigger so that the Zombine come out. There should be another. So the Zombine trigger, actually, I found out that you could go here and just run, and you would miss it entirely. So that was fixed. These stairs were a nightmare, so those were fixed. Then I believe this crate was okay, but like you see these supply crates, and you think that you're gonna get ammunition, like how I just did. For some reason, the map creator had a handful, not many, but a handful of these crates that were fake. You would break them, nothing would come out. Now, that's one of the things where I said, okay, I think he made a mistake. Like, I think he didn't intend to do this, so let's replace them with real crates. If he meant it as a funny troll, well, too bad, because I you know, obviously I'm not a mind reader. These two up here were among them that were completely empty. So here's another fun fact. This room you could not enter originally with this mod. If you looked at the data in Hammer, it was very obvious that that was the intention, that you were to be able to go back there. But all of the scripting was broken. Alright, and then the head crab go boom. Oh, did he not? Huh. Okay, so the animation was cut off like probably like a frame before that would have actually dropped. Alright, so they're going to fight a couple zombies. So originally you would come in here, and that guy, actually in the 2022 version, he would just fall over dead. He would smack the window like twice and then just fall over dead. And I actually thought it was supposed to be like a silly thing, like maybe, you know, maybe it was supposed to be, you know, some kind of dark humor of like, oh, there's a spook, and then no, nothing spooky. He just, you know, he's dead. Turns out that was actually a scripting error. This is what he's supposed to do. Now, from best I can tell, he is supposed to teleport over to this door when you come to this door, but the scripting was completely broken. So we actually changed this a bit. You interact with the door. This guy busts down the door. And so, you know, for a new player, that'll probably surprise you and scare you. And then this guy, he continues his thing until you walk through this doorway. And then he stops. And then 2 head crabs spawn. So fun thing about this is one of those things where I was like, it's funny, so I'll leave it. So obviously that doesn't match the rest of the room. There's actually a door texture on the other side of this, so I think the creator intended to have like an extra room back here. But then flipped it 180, applied this texture for some reason, and then just called it a day. So I left it. But then you come down here, and there's this guy. And then you get into the spooky room. So as far as I'm aware, this is the only place in the entire mod you can get to 357. And before, this entire area was inaccessible. So the only real things I did here is I fixed these 2 doors and this door, because this door actually would not open. This broom was a nightmare, because it would just fall through the road, or it would get stuck in the air. So I just made it so it's just kind of in the corner, you know, just prop dressing. I'll show you another little secret. Get Mr. Bones out of there. There's some extra 357 ammo. Good enough. I realize I didn't redo my binds for this mod compared to how I have things in Half-Life 2. So my zoom was not quite working. Which actually, speaking of the zoom, when you used to zoom, the gun model would be upside down and on the upper left-hand side of the screen when you zoomed in. So, big shout out to Gordon Freakman for helping me fix that in code. Because that's just straight up broken in the Source SDK, the single-player branch. But I realize at this point I'm talking less about the mod as a whole than just going through like each area. So I'll wrap this up because I'm sure that this has gone on long enough. I don't even know how long I've been talking at this point. But this is another area where one of the playtesters, Grub, said, "This vent is terrible. Can you please redo the textures?" And I said no. And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Funny." This is the only mod where I've noticed that the Combine can see you before, like, you're out of the vent, which is amusing. And again, I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but I'm leaving it. These little areas are fun. Yeah, and I do remember having to fix this area because that locker was in the wall, so it would just fly out, and then these shotguns would just fall under the locker before the locker fell down, and so you wouldn't even find them. Then another funny door. And then this area, I had to do a lot of work on this gate so that wheels weren't sticking out and so that everything was, you know, wrapped properly. And you might say, well, like, the textures are obviously misaligned. Yep, I left that on purpose. The giant wheel. So anyways, yeah, we'll just continue. There we go. Oh, that's actually another thing where the text comes up. I had to fix all that because in the first two maps, not mods, maps. The first two maps, it has text that pops up, and in this map, it would only pop up for half a second, and it had a fade-in time, so you couldn't even read it in time. And then this whole area I opened up, and I made it so you couldn't go back, but that was because of technical difficulties that I was having with some goofiness in the mod. But I'll show a couple more things here, then I'll wrap this up. Because if I play through all three maps, number one, it's going to ruin the entire mod, but number two, it's going to be an hour of me talking to myself in my living room. But, yeah, this is yet another one where there were just little things. A lot of these prison cells had no draws in them, you know, so you could see through the world. I do like the script that they have set up. Although it's funny because, like, yeah, half the time the citizens just kind of stand there and take it. They don't know what to do. This area, that all had, like, a no draw, and there was some texture issues in here. This area, he had it where it was V physics for the rocks, so you actually had to, like, jump up on them. So I made it so that it's just, well, I say that, and then immediately I get stuck on it. But if you walk through it like a normal person, you'll be fine. Funny. Oh. And I will tell you one thing. There is a secret rocket launcher in this room. Can you find it? So I guess I'll get to my final point, because I do want to wrap this up instead of just playing through the entire... Oh, I guess there is another 357 here. Shows how much I know. And actually, I'm just going to stop sound, because if I'm trying to wrap this up and talk, that's going to be horrible. Nope. Too much talking, too much soundscapes. How dare this game not be perfectly quiet when I'm trying to speak. So a lot of people ask me why. Why did I bother with this? Why did I rope other people into it? Why did I have people play test it, etc.? I think that things like this, it's a shame. It's a shame that no one can play it. Even with its quirks and its faults and its issues. Obviously, I wanted to fix the big ones, like the soft locks. That turned into a big mess, and then I actually tried to bring my scope back down a bit, just because I felt like I was doing a little too much. So I brought that back in. I narrowed my scope again. And here I am, nearly ready, I think. Or at least I thought I was actually done until I started playing earlier. So even after I'm done recording here, I'm going to play through the rest and, you know, kind of look closely at things that people wouldn't normally look at. Oh, they're not even in here. But one of the people involved, Tyro, actually mentioned that, you know, maybe it would be nice if there was some kind of group, some kind of organization of modders that worked to restore mods like this. I don't know if that'll be us. Probably not. Even just this little mod has taken weeks. Now, a lot of that was setting, like, the stage, you know, getting familiar with it, figuring out what I need to do, figuring out how to fix specific issues. Now I have, like, a good code base for it. So, like, actually, I'll just show real quick. So, in base Half-Life, you actually... zombies cannot hit you when you're on their head. But we were able to add code. Oh, it would help if I actually got on his head. We were able to add code that actually makes it so they do attack you. And Valve probably got rid of it because, you know, how he was doing the little ballerina dance. But like just little quality of life things, nothing major. I did add also like FOV, so right now it's on 90 for the sake of the recording. If you're a Madman Lamal, you can change your FOV to 150. You can also change it down to 70. By default, it's a minimum of 75 and a maximum of 110, I want to say. That might be... No, it was 90. A minimum of 75, a maximum of 90, which is insane to me. I find that like around 105, 110 on a standard 1080p monitor is more than enough for what I want to do. And then view model FOV, I usually like that around 70. But I left that at 54 because that's the default. So just little things like that, little quality of life changes. For the average player, they're not even going to notice them. But for, someone that wants to go through and, change things up, they'll have that option. And the field of view is actually accessible here, and looks like I need to change the code so that it actually shows 150. Okay. Yep. More things to add. Again, this is why we test. Actually, I'm going to literally write that down here in a second, because I don't want to forget. But this has turned into a major rant. If you're still here, God bless you, because, like, what are you doing with your life listening to this moron on the internet ramble about an obscure source mod from a decade and a half ago that people don't play? Which, again, I think is a shame. Someone put a lot of hard work into this, and for it to just rot without anybody being able to enjoy it, I think is a real shame. And I think actually that's where I'll let it off, because I would like to have like kind of a call to action. Not even just like this, like you might go like, oh man, you had to remake the mod from scratch. You had to like redo the maps. You had to decompile them, recompile them, fix them in a million areas, improve some areas. We even added back some areas that like you could call cut content if you wanted to. I'm not even asking for that. There's some mods where like all I've done was little quality of life changes, like adding, like, fixing the icon in Steam, or making it so that like, like the episode 2 issue that I spoke of earlier, where you fix it so that it mounts episode 2 and gets the assets, just little things like that. Get involved if you can, and try to save these old source mods. Because I really do feel like it's just such a shame that someone put a lot of effort, a lot of heart into these creations, and then they just don't work. And and unless someone like me and others, obviously I didn't do this by myself. It takes a village. But unless someone steps up and... I just hit the microphone stand, sorry. But I'm speaking with my hands over here. But unless someone stands up and takes the time and the effort to fix these things and to preserve these things, they'll go to rotten. They'll just never be enjoyed again. And I really do feel like that's such a shame. And it can be prevented. So, all that said, I'm going to play the rest of this mod, and I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this little janky, fun little source mod, this little flawed masterpiece. So, this has been, well, you might know me as Roshi on YouTube or Saint Software elsewhere. Signing off. See you later.